Now Sava river comes from the left side, from over there, and Danube comes from over there and flows in that direction. Sava is the biggest Yugoslavian river. What it means is that in previous country, in Yugoslavia, that was the biggest domestic river. Nowadays Sava itself is also international river, coming from Slovenia next to Croatia, Bosnia, and coming here joining Danube in Belgrade. So given it, we have like two confluences. People argue, even the scientific community, sometimes they like argue, discuss where is the real confluence. For some people, confluence is over here, where the main stream of Sava meets the small part of Danube that encircles the island. For others, the confluence is over there where the two main streams meet. I guess the easier way would just to say that we have two confluences. Between them, we have Great War Island. Now that island is called that way for a reason. If you would come tonight here, you would see that in 21st century the island is very, very dark. Now imagine how it was a few centuries back. Start with the tower of the city. On right side, next to the buildings, then right side, there is a tower. So that is Zemun. Zemun was historically a different town. So Ottomans were holding Belgrade. The whole island is covered in jungle, so the temperature is always few degrees higher, which is unfortunately is not occupied, but unfortunately that's I think the only reason the city. Christian forces were defending it, and after one of the battles, we still joke about people from Zemun. We call them mini patriotists and mini separatists because it became so. Serbs didn't but became so many World War bombings. So they dried out the land on that side, which is also just one big swamp. They dried out the land, and in 5 years they built so many blocks and blocks of the residential buildings, long wide boulevards and institutions, that in those 5 years founded new municipality. That was built mainly with youth working actions, which means that people, women and men, they would work together on constructing those things, but not, they would construct railroads, highways, bridges, everything that the country needed, not for money, but for the benefit of the community. It sounds incredible that some people devoted their lives for those actions. Some of them spent more than 10 years working on those voluntarily working actions. So, New Belgrade side, after that, after the Second World War, started to expand rapidly and eventually connected Belgrade with Zemun, so Zemun became part of the city. New Belgrade nowadays hosts around 0.8 million people, while the old part of the city hosts around 1.2 million people. It is concrete things over here. For decades, people...
Bir dakika okuyorum. Arkadaşlar, bunun yerine millete daha hayırlı bir şeyler yapsaydınız diyen bir...
Very good. I'm going to make a very good video.
Manevra nego smo pričali camp during the Second World War, so nothing is allowed to be tied to the shore between first and second bridge. Immediately after the second one, you have a lot more of these party roads. So while London has its Big Ben and Paris has its Eiffel. So when you Google Belgrade and click on the images, majority of the images will actually be image of this guy over here. So this guy is called Victor, as in victory, as in victorious. Victor, what did Victor won? Victor won Balkan Wars. Now don't mix Balkan Wars with a civil war on the Balkan, two completely different things. Balkan Wars happened in 1912 and 1913 when Serbia with its allies managed to push Ottomans back from the Balkan Peninsula, thus ending their almost 500 years reign here on the Balkans. After that, they wanted to make, that was kind of a big deal for us because we were occupied for almost 5 centuries. Authorities wanted to honor that with a monument, but then we had a few months break until we had a First World War, because that's kind of territory we live on. So Victor was sent to Czech Republic for some finishing touches, but when Victor was brought back to the country, his symbology also changed. After the First World War, I mentioned we got new country. So Victor was also supposed to symbolize the birth of that new country and that new beginning. You know, when babies are born, they're also naked, which is why he's also Victor. He's naked because he symbolizes the birth and the beginning of that new country. There is also one other reason why he's naked, and that's because now Victor was supposed to be a universal monument. He was supposed to honor both Balkan Wars and the First World War. If you would put any kind of uniform on Victor, he would not be universal anymore, because you could associate him with the current period, enemy, war, and Victor would not be universal. Now there was a problem with him being naked, which I'm going to tell you later after I tell you what are the symbologies of the sword and the bird that he has in his hand. So in the same time, Victor represents peace and war. So he has a sword that is stuck in the ground, which represents peace. Such sword represents peace. In his hand, Victor has an eagle. Eagle is also a symbol of Serbia. We have eagles on our emblem. Now, eagle is representing freedom. That eagle has also great sight and is on alert. So that eagle is watching for some possible danger. If danger arises, then Victor could use that sword, which was representing peace, now to defend that freedom that was finally got after almost 500 years. To exit the fortress, I would like to tell you something about Belgrade bridges, because here we have a good view of those bridges. So Belgrade has 8 bridges, 6 of them are on Sava River and 2 of them are on Danube River. Many of those bridges are world records, whether by the number of destructions and repeated constructions, whether by the combination of the materials used for the first time, or simply like that one over there, the big one. That's the world's biggest single pylon suspension bridge. That's the newest bridge, built in 2011, was supposed to cost around 140 million euros, ended up costing more than 400. So you can imagine the scandal in the country. To top it, it was named completely grammatically incorrect. So the name of the bridge is Bridge over Ada. Ada is a man-made lake with a man-made island. Actually, the name is Bridge on Ada, and grammatically correct would be Bridge over Ada. Now, that's not as terrible as the fact that they still didn't completely finish the bridge, because there are some connection points that are yet to be finished, and the bridge was released for the public in 2011. Again, we come to this thing with the deadlines and our government. Now, the first bridge next to us, that's the second bridge in the same spot. The first one was built by the Royalists and looked like that Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. That one was also destroyed by the Royalists themselves, because they wanted to make Nazis unable to cross the bridge. And they destroyed the bridge, they blew it up in the middle of the night. It was such a chaotic state in the army that they blew it up while the Yugoslavian warship was passing below, so the bridge collapsed on the warship, killing 94 people on board. After that, communists, like everything else they built a plain old simple bridge. What a lot of people don't know is that those are actually 2 bridges combined in one. So it's like a small bridge that became insufficient, and then almost the same one next to it. They connected it on top, and you can see the difference when you stand below them. You can see the difference in construction if you stand below the bridge. Now, during the NATO bombings, that's where this crazy story comes, which you promised at the beginning. During the NATO bombings, wherever people would hear sirens, they would storm to the bridge wearing shirts with the targets printed on them, and wearing transparents with targets printed on them. They were irritated by the huge number of civilian casualties, civilian targets and civilian losses, so they were symbolically putting themselves as a human shield. Of course, the bridge was never bombed. Actually, none of the bridges in Belgrade were bombed. On the other hand, in Novi Sad, all the bridges were destroyed. The second bridge was sort of a gift from the Nazis, as they built it themselves and wanted to blow it up after the end of the Second World War, but there was a mad professor who was taking a walk across the bridge, who saw wires, realized what the wires were, cut them, click, nothing happened, and the bridge survived. This is nowadays the only bridge which is used for tram traffic. The third bridge over there is the orange one, is called Gazelle. It's the part of the highway built by the communists in the 60s, called Brotherhood and Unity. That highway was connecting north of the country Slovenia with South Macedonia. The bridge was designed to support around 37,000 cars a day. It ended up supporting more than 140,000 cars a day until the new bridge in 2011 was built over there. Now we have a few more bridges between. I wouldn't bother you with them, except this one has interesting story. One of them is a bridge used for railroad traffic, and it's just plain metal bridge, like plain metal box. Was first destroyed by the Nazis, then rebuilt by the Nazis. But the thing is, when they were rebuilding the bridge, whether they simply forgot or they intentionally didn't add the weight of the paint to the bridge design, if you would like to paint the bridge, that would require tons and tons of the painting. So if you would, or the paint actually, if you would paint it when the train is crossing the bridge wouldn't support such weight and would collapse. So what we ended up is an ugly, rusty metal bridge that cannot be painted, otherwise it would collapse. So urban legend is like, that's the way how Nazis had the revenge, because they left us that bridge. Anyways, we'll now move outside of the fortress to our next and last stop, which will be near that church that you see over there. Okay, so I told you that we have one more stop, but that's not quite true, as when we finish here, we'll just move 20 meters over there to tell you the last two sentences end-to-end tour over there. Like I promised, over there I'm gonna make you guys vastly rich, and I'm gonna tell you a secret how to become famous in Serbia. So this area is developed, if you maybe remember the name Miloš Obrenović. If not, do you remember the guy on the Republic Square riding the horse? So his father, the founder of that second dynasty and the leader of the second Serbian uprising, invested a lot of money into this area to develop it, as this area in the 19th century was mainly populated with people of Serbian ethnicity. So he ordered construction of this Orthodox Cathedral Church, as well as the royal palace over there called Palace of Princess Ljubica, his wife. He ordered construction of kafana. For example, you see the plate over there. That marks the first pharmacy in Miloš, Serbia. So many institutions for the first time in the country were formed in this area. This Orthodox Cathedral Church is also resting place of Miloš himself and those two guys who I mentioned, who were very important for Serbian language, the reformator and the one who formed first higher educational institution in the country. Across this church you have this kafana, which changed the name throughout the history many times. At one point they were literally called Kafana Cross Cathedral Church, but they made the owner change the name of Kafana, as he didn't know how to name it. He put a question mark in front of Kafana as a temporary solution until someone gives him a better idea how to call this Kafana. I guess he never got that idea, as more than 100 years after that, Kafana is still called question mark, so that temporary solution became permanent one.
What is this?
This is the patriarchy. So Serbs are mainly Orthodox Christians. Unlike, for example, Catholic Christians, Orthodox people have independent churches. We have Serbian Orthodox Church, Russian, Greek, Romanian, and we all have a patriarch of our own. So that's the headquarters of the Serbian patriarchy. This building is cool, of King Peter, as well as the street is also named after him. You have a statue of that king over here. He's the king who led Serbian army during the First World War, and he was the first king of that kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. The irony is that this building, this school, was founded by Miloš Obrenović, the guy from the second dynasty, yet nowadays is named after the king from the first dynasty, their opponent dynasty. Anyways, you have a plate over there with a basketball. So I maybe told you that basketball is the main sport in the country. People will tell you sometimes, yeah, the main sport is football, but actually it's not. Football just gets far more attention, unfortunately, not because of the sport itself, but because of the some quite bad things such as hooligans and politics that involves into sport. people here absolutely love and they're crazy about basketball. The first basketball game in the country was played inside in 1923. Now, as I promised, let me first make you guys rich. Then I'm gonna tell you that secret. Can you read the bill to me? Is this for you?
00000000005.
500000. So can you read this bill to me? 5 followed by 11 zeros. How do you pronounce that amount? 500 billion. So 500 billion dinars was the biggest bill we had during that hyperinflation in the 90s, which I mentioned at the time was the world's worst hyperinflation.
This is the real money.
No, this is printed one. So this is printed bill, not the original bill. So technically we print money, which technically is illegal. So
Okay.
I'm just joking. No, these are just the souvenirs.
But they really existed in 1990s.
Yes, the real money was worth 500 billion dinars.
So how much this was by that time?
I cannot precisely tell you. For example,
I mean, what could you buy with this?
By year. A hotel?
I cannot tell you because what you could buy today, you couldn't buy this evening. How our parents described this hyperinflation for us is usually just by saying that, you know, when we get our monthly salaries, that day we had to spend the whole salary. We worked hard for the whole month and we had to spend it the same day. Otherwise, if we don't do anything with the money, we would be left with nothing. So in few hours, that would worth much less. Tomorrow morning maybe wouldn't worth at all. Sometimes the national bank couldn't print money as fast as the money was losing value. So they would print money, by the time the money reaches public, it already lost a lot of its value. So for example, you went to a coffee shop, you ordered coffee, it's one price. You finish sipping your coffee, it's different price. Same is with the restaurants. The more you eat, the more you sip, the more you pay at the end. So, for example, you got your monthly salary and you want to buy a fridge because your old one is broke. And you feel tired, you'll do it in the morning. But in the morning you wake up with the same amount of money. If you're lucky, you maybe buy a toaster. So it's very hard to say what you could buy with this money. So practically every single child in Yugoslavia at the time was a billionaire, not even a millionaire, but a billionaire. Now, given that I made you now rich, how to become famous? Let me show you something.
Come up on a video, will become famous on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can buy a hotel.
So, do you recognize this person?
It's Europe.
It's me, yeah.
Yeah, the president of Serbia.
Yeah, so they printed
To
money
be.
with me.
Yeah.
So, see that building over there? That's National Bank of Serbia. One way to be famous is, I guess, trying to rob the bank, but that's not my point. Every single working day, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you can go to the National Bank, leave your ID at the front desk, and go upstairs. You'll have a door with the exhibition of a lot of different of Serbian money throughout the history, as well as euros and forged bills and so on. But the thing is that you can sit down, the National Bank will photograph you, and they'll print money with your face on it for free. So you'll get a souvenir. Of course, you cannot use that money, you cannot buy anything, so don't try to do that, as I'm going to bail you out from jail eventually. So I still guess it's awesome to have money be printed with your face on it by an official national bank, and even for free. So you can go back to your country and be like, hey, listen, I was in Serbia like for 2-3 days, I became a billionaire, and I became so famous they started printing money with my face on it. So it's one nice souvenir to have, as I told you, every single day between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So first you have to know that Serbs are great meat lovers. We eat meat a lot, like 3 times a day for the 3 meals we eat meat. So from the beginning of the tour, you remember that I said we had 2 dynasties. First dynasty, Karađorđević dynasty, named by Karađorđe, the leader of the first Serbian uprising. For us, obviously, the guy is important for many historical reasons. For you, mainly because there's this dish named after him. We have this steak we call Karađorđe's steak. Or the easier way to remember his name would be to say Black George steak. Kara in Turkish means black, so Black George is same as Karageorgi. So what is Karageorgi steak? It's a rolled meat stuffed with cream cheese and more meat inside, and it's breaded on the outside. It's huge, it's delicious, and definitely something you also have to try before you leave Serbia. Where you can have it? You can have it in practically every single serious restaurant where they have national cuisine. So you have it in those kafanas in Bohemian Quarter. You have it, remember when we spoke about vampires? Right after that place, there was a restaurant with traditional Balkan Serbian food. Also, you'll have 20 meters up on the left side a place called Manufaktura. They also have traditional Balkan food, so also there you can have some Karageorgi steak over there. Besides that, what you can also try is cevapcici or cevap. That's also popular in the whole Balkans. Cevap? Yeah, cevapcici. Whatever is easier for you. Cevap is, I think, easier, but people know it. It's more popular by the name of cevapcici. Now, cevap is a minced meat rolled in the shape of a small sausage. Popular in the whole Balkans, according to a guest, best in Bosnia and Serbia. So if you ever go to Sarajevo, you might try some in Belgrade and then compare when you go to Sarajevo. Where to eat cevapi in Belgrade? There is a place behind the National Theatre called Drama. For me personally, they have the best cevapi in the whole city. Then besides Drama, you have a restaurant called Three Hats and My Hat in Bohemian Quarter, those kafanas. Now, you remember I told you that they were making handmade items such as hats. Well, obviously these are the ones who made hats then to sold to kafanas. So, cevapcici in Drama, in My Hat, Three Hats, very popular restaurants, and Karageorgi steak in all of those places that I mentioned previously. If you don't have time to sit in a restaurant and you want just something, quickly, you can have pljeskavica. Pljeskavica is a Serbian version of hamburger. Like what you get for 220-30 dinars, you get around 200 grams of meat in a bun with tons of different additions like salads and whatever you want to put inside. You also have stuffed pljeskavica, which is pljeskavica like a hamburger stuffed with cheese and more meat inside. As I told you, we really like meat. So you can knock yourself out of the meat on the street for less than 2 euros. If you would like to distance yourself a bit from the meat, you can have burek, usually for breakfast. Burek is something we took from Ottoman Turkish culture. That's sort of pie that can be with meat, can be with cheese and spinach, and can be with potatoes. You can have it in almost any bakery, and you usually have it with yogurt. Now, what also you can try is sarma. Sarma is a rice with minced meat rolled in a sour cabbage actually. So rice and minced meat rolled in a sour cabbage, sarma. That's a bit harder to find than all the other things I told you about. So you can still try in those restaurants of national cuisine. Now, one more place I would recommend you. When you start going back to the Republic Square, when you take this main pedestrian street, on the left side there will be a place called Via del Gusto, like ordinary place, nothing special except this dish. They have heavenly chicken, and it's called heavenly with a very good reason. Believe me, like if you like chicken, you're gonna love that place. So I have a lot of friends, including my brother, when they come to Belgrade, because they live in a different place, whenever they come to Belgrade, like one of the first things they do, they go for the chicken over there. So my honest recommendation. Now, before I ask you if you have any questions and recommendations, if you need recommendations, let's first take one group photo which we will upload on our Facebook page, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, have a nice time. Hope you do too.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye bye.